It's Bobbbaaaay, and we back.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast. It's your special host guest, Steve Rush.
Steve Rush.
We're here.
We are here live.
We're here with Robert Hobert. You might know him as
Bobbbaaaay.
but today he's Robert Hobert.
Yeah.
Robert, how the hell are you?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. My heart is beating because I just did fucking yelling and trying to get on your energy level.
Dude, my energy level is up all the time.
I got my fucking notes here.
Can't read them.
Yeah, my notes are not great. So let's get right into it. Who is Bob? Who is Bob today? And how many years young is Bob?
It's going to go like that. 24 years young. This is going to be so interesting to see where this goes. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for checking in. 24 years young, living in L.A. Man, that's a great question, and I knew you were gonna ask me that, and I didn't even think about it. But man, I'm just somebody who is in that day-to-day process of trying to figure this out, right? Like we're doing the podcast, Purpose in the Youth. We're now doing Breakfast is Served. We're doing some vlogging. We're doing all different types of content creation, and it's funny because I still feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. You know, Every day is a new day. I have an idea of these big goals of what I'm chasing after, but I'd be lying if I didn't tell people straight up that every day I'm questioning, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is the podcast what I'm meant to be doing? Like what's going on? But I mean, honestly, I think that I'm a representation of somebody that has built nothing, an idea into something, and I'm nowhere near that end goal, but I'm in the process of trying to build an empire, I guess you could say. And man, I'm enjoying
A media empire?
A what?
A media empire?
I guess a media empire. I don't know. Just like I want Bobbbaaaay, Robert Hobert, Robert John Hobert, Bobby Hobert. I want this person to represent something much bigger than who he is, and just be a representation of somebody that has just put in the work to kind of get to where he wants to be, and just used what he had.
Do you see this podcast as being a vehicle?
The vehicle is the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, I try not to get so hard and stuck on like Purpose in the Youth is going to be the thing I do for the rest of my life, but it's been the vehicle to kind of give me permission to try these other things, to do the second podcast, to start vlogging, and to create a YouTube channel. It gave me the permission to actually do those things that I don't think I before had the confidence to do.
And to project you into something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully, right?
Exactly.
So let's take it back here.
You're good.
Let's take it.
Let's take it back.
Let's take a 1-2 backwards here.
1-2 step.
What's you grew up in Chicopee, Mass.
Chicopee, Massachusetts.
What's it
baby.
like in Chicopee?
Dude, Chicopee.
For people who have no idea what Massachusetts is like, paint a picture of what Chicopee is like.
Yeah, Chicopee, Massachusetts, man. I feel like as the years have gone, at least in the last couple of years since I graduated college and now living out in LA, I appreciate Chicopee so much more. I think I grew up in one of the best towns in Chicopee. I'm so thankful for it because, man, I went to high school with, I was just thinking about this last night because I knew you were going to probably ask me something on this. I went to high school with a school filled of Hispanics, Puerto Ricans, whites, blacks, just a mixed culture of people. And, as you are raised and you hear about racism and you hear about things that have happened in the past, that never really happened at all when I was in high school. Everybody just kind of did their thing. Of course, there was their cliques, and there was like the basketball team and the chess club, or there was all these different cliques within that, but it wasn't by race, and it wasn't anything like that. Yeah. And Chicopee was and forever is an amazing place. I mean, the city is about 56,000. So you have, a big size city, but nothing that's too crazy. Yeah. There's 2 high schools. You have your really nice neighborhood, which was known as Burnett Road. That's where a lot of my homies lived and grew up, and that was like the nice part of Chicopee. Then you had kind of where I grew up, which was like perfect middle class. Like me, Dylan lived there. Yeah, suburban. And then you had your parts of Chicopee that were, I don't want to call it the hood, but projects, I guess you could say. And so you had all these different parts of Chicopee within just one city. You see that in major cities, Boston, LA.
Yeah, I think everywhere has that.
Everywhere has that. Yeah. But how many cities can say, at least for that size, 56,000, that you have such a wide spread? Yeah. And with there being 2 high schools, there was that competition growing up. Oh, you went to Chicopee High. Oh, I went to Chicopee Comp. You'd see people at
those are the
parties,
two.
and it was like that rivalry. So that was super dope. But Chicopee was dope. I mean, I got real lucky to grow up there because, like I said, now that I'm where I'm at today, looking back on it, I'm like, damn.
I didn't know it was that diverse. I thought it was very
it's very
one-sided.
diverse. Yeah,
I mean,
Ukrainians, Russians, man,
really?
it's a mixed
Is it a
pot.
huge? Well, yeah. Now that makes sense. Is it a huge like? Is there like refugees are there and stuff? Like, is that where?
I think what happened was over the years you had like Ukrainians and Russians coming in, and then as their family continued to come over, Polish too. My God, dude, it's literally a mixed pot.
That's so
but
weird.
as the years go, people would just continue to funnel over, and they'd go to where their family was. And I don't know why it was with Chicopee, but maybe it's because like the three major cities in Western Mass, Chicopee, Springfield, and Holyoke. Springfield's always been like the number one. That's where basketball was created. But then also Holyoke was also known for its own history. They also make a comment, and this is random, the movie Blow with Johnny Depp. And unfortunately, Holyoke is known for a lot of its heroin and a lot of drugs that have come through that city.
What's the reference in Blow?
He's talking about like their next load that's coming out. You've seen Blow, right? Yeah. He makes reference about like, the next load's coming through Holyoke and it should be out here on the West Coast.
They talk
by
about
then.
it
Because Holyoke, if you look at like New England, Western Mass is literally the center of New England.
Oh, okay.
It's like the exact center. So everything would come through there to then get distributed out. But that's a whole nother thing in itself. But Chicopee is dope, man.
You miss it?
You know, I miss it, in the way of I wouldn't move back.
Yeah.
Right. So I hate to say it, but I don't think I'd ever live there full time like I did growing up. But I appreciate it so much more. Right. And I think that's like anything in life when you kind of,
especially when you move out,
when you move away, right? That's when you start to finally realize like, I appreciate this, or you lose someone, you start to realize that, or you move on to the next chapter of your life. That's when you realize you appreciate things the most. But, you know, Chicopee, man, I got so lucky. Like me and
that's
Dylan
dope. I didn't know that. I didn't know Chicopee was that diverse. I mean, I've actually been to Chicopee.
Yeah.
Well, I went to Elms School
for like
for basketball.
Camp? Okay.
We had a game there, so I guess I kind of saw. I mean, Elms is in Chicopee, right?
There's a college. Yeah, exactly. There's a college there too.
That's also dope that there's like a real college. See, LA or California doesn't have that. Where like Palmdale has a little junior college, like Ventura has a little junior college. There's no like real division colleges out here, which is dope to have that. I was gonna say, what like when you were growing up, who was like? I mean, I know your dad is a huge part of your life and your mom and all that, but like, who was like a mentor? Was it like a cousin? Like who really like, you know, I don't know, like put your right foot forward, I guess. Like who was really pushing you?
That's like tough to actually pinpoint an exact person. I mean, my parents were always on me about kind of, you know, trying different things. And I mean, my father was growing up, he was my basketball coach. He was my soccer coach when I was a little kid. So he served as a mentor. But honestly, I'd say like my family, like not my direct family, but everyone around like my actual family. So we'll go start with my mom's side. It's a smaller side. My mom's sister, my aunt Susie, her husband John, he owned it's called Class Grass Garden Center, a nursery. And that was my first job I ever had. And I definitely give him a lot of, and I probably should say more. I've definitely told him, but I would say that working for him, I started when I was in 7th grade, right?
Damn.
Just definitely like not supposed to be doing that, but it was for
like
a family.
12,
so
13 at that time? Yeah.
So working for him at such a young age, I learned how to work for money and the work ethic and how to save money and all that. So without really knowing it at the time, he taught me work ethic because, you know, I'm working weekends. I'm giving up on going and doing things with my friends and playing video games on the weekend to go and work and make money. Yeah. Whatever it was, however much I was getting paid, it was the discipline of showing up, working 8-10-hour days when I'm that young. And I'm like, damn, I'm starting to get money. Yeah. So he directly showed me, you know, that work ethic. And, you know, and my whole mother's side of the family has always just been supportive and very loving. but then also my father's side of the family, very, very.
They seem
important.
more high energy, more.
You want to talk about me?
Yeah.
That's like where I get my personality, my just outgoingness.
Is that where you get your beard too?
Not many beers on that side of the
No?
family. Some of them, if they're watching, they definitely talk about you gotta,
Oh, they're not feeling it.
get it out of here. I definitely have trimmed it down a bit, but when it was long, they would always rag on me. But man, when I think back of like growing up, my dad was one of 10 children, so think
That's
of it like
crazy.
that. And all 10, not all 10, but I would say 7 of them, I think, ended up having children themselves.
Phew.
So you're talking about we meet for Christmas, we meet for Easter
That's
or
a lot.
anything, and it's a party.
Yeah.
My dad grew up in Holyoke, Mass, and it was on 45 Yale Street. Is the
That's
house,
the next
right?
album?
That's no, that's what everyone knew the house as, and it was this huge house in Holyoke, like a basement and 3 floors above.
Whose house was it?
It was where my dad grew up.
Oh, really? Wow.
And you got to think they had to fit 10 children in this house.
That's like
and
Shameless.
it was like
the
8
show.
bedrooms. It was
Yeah.
8 bedrooms. So every Christmas and holidays, I would so much look forward to meeting with my dad's side of the family, only because there were so many of us.
Yeah.
And growing up, it was cool because I saw my older cousins that like the oldest of the family, Kathy, she had kids, and so by the time I was 10, her kids were going into college. So I'd be going to my cousin Jeff's baseball games in Springfield College as a 12-year-old, seeing my cousin as an athlete. I'm like, yo, this is super cool.
Yeah, it was
So like that whole family influenced me, and just all of them, like the whole family.
So you wouldn't say it's one person. You say
No,
it's kind of
I would just say they all played a role. I
Yeah.
can't directly pinpoint.
Yeah.
But
when you were working at the nursery, you
for
would
sure,
say-
work ethic. My
Yeah.
uncle, my dad's late brother Ricky, which was like his out of all the brothers, that was like his.
That was
his man. He actually moved out to California.
Oh, Sacramento, right?
Sacramento.
Yeah, you told me this.
So over the years, I wouldn't say that's why I wanted to move to California, but I was like, Ricky did it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he passed away when I was a sophomore in high school, which was probably one of the first big like humps in my life where I now was dealing with death and the hardest was seeing my father.
Yeah.
Like that to this day.
That's his brother.
Yeah, like that was forever one of the hardest things that I ever had to witness. But I think that, knowing that he made it out to California and I had visited him, I was like, that's where I need to go someday. And I always told them, my parents, was that Ricky did it, and it was almost like a tribute to him.
So that's dope.
It is.
Because he kind of influenced you.
It's absolutely.
Or he totally influenced
He
you.
totally influenced
Yeah.
me. Just kind of knowing that he did it.
Growing up
the
in
family.
Mass, do people see California as this like,
Fairyland.
it's like there's gold roads there?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Everybody, I would argue probably everybody that's outside of California thinks California is the temple.
Yeah.
This
For
is-
more or less. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, when you tell people that I moved to LA, they're like, this kid, he's
Yeah.
probably already made it. I mean, humbly, like he
Yeah.
didn't make it, but
Yeah, that's what they...
everybody just looks at California as like that golden place, like that where everyone wants to live.
That's just crazy.
And it's so different.
Yeah.
Because now you're living here and you just kind of get so used to it. And then I think back to, a year ago when I literally was counting down the days to move out here, which is crazy because I was in 5th grade when I told my parents. I remember it was right around 5th or 6th grade. I'm like, I'm moving to California one day, and thought I was gonna be, after maybe high school, thought I was gonna be for college, and then finally it happened. But
Did you apply for schools out here?
I
in
applied to
college?
USC and one other school. Didn't get into USC, and I ended up writing a letter to the president saying, like, you need to let me into your school. I don't know who I thought I was writing this letter, but at the same time,
You ever seen the movie Orange County?
No.
It's with Tom Hanks' son. I forget his name. It's basically about that. Like, he gets accepted to Harvard and then like, or Stanford. He gets accepted to Stanford and then like he doesn't, and then he has to like go to the guy and like read him. He has to like persuade the president of Stanford. It's kind of like that, but it's a funny movie. Jack Black's in it.
Oh, okay.
It's a funny movie.
That's a good movie. Then.
So your dad's a huge sports fan, right?
Yeah.
Huge. Like, I don't even
Well,
think
they
that's
call him Logo Man growing up.
Logan Man.
Logo Man.
Oh, Logo Man.
Man, because he would always be wearing some type of Boston clothing, whether it's a T-shirt, whether it's socks, underwear, hat.
I love it.
Gloves.
That's hilarious.
Every time there's a logo on it.
So he's a huge sports fan.
Yeah.
He's on podcast 33, right?
Yep.
So
to Bird.
I don't know this, so obviously I'm gonna ask. So he's a huge sports fan. Was there influence? Was there like a push to be like, you need to be on the Celtics, like some like LeVar Ball shit?
Yeah.
Was there like, you need to be a Boston Bruin? You need to be. Was there like a push?
Yeah.
Was sports like a huge part of your growing up?
Yeah. So he definitely. He never like told me like you're gonna be an MLB player, an NBA player, but he was very open to getting me to trying all these sports, right? Whether it'd be like, hey, do you want to go shoot hoops right now?
Yeah.
Do you want to go toss the baseball around, kick the soccer ball? He was very open to me trying these different sports. But he never was like, why aren't you out there shooting hoops right now? He was always offering, which I'm extremely grateful for because he'd be like, you want to go shoot shots? And a lot of times I'd be like, no, I want to go play video games. It was like the weird timing of when you kind of had to get serious for a sport. I was balancing working and also playing video games.
So video games was a big.
I wasn't nerd. Yeah, I
downplay it.
I don't want to downplay it because I definitely nerded out for like, damn, I don't know, 6. I'm glad I went through that phase from like 5th grade to like freshman year of high school, and I played through high school too. But I remember like in 8th grade I was getting into like World War of Warcraft. Sorry. Yeah. And I was like, yo, this game's taking up so much of my time. And thankfully I got out of that game. Yeah. And throughout high school, I still played some games, but it was weird because it was like all my athlete homies in high school and all my like close boys, they were athletes by day, and then at nighttime we'd go home and I whooped that ass on 2K. So any of you guys listening, you know, Bob was gonna give it to you. But
that's funny.
Yeah, my father wasn't. And what's very interesting, and I wanna like state this because I've never really said this straight up, is that with my dad being such a passionate Boston sports fan, somehow, some way, I never like found that passion for sports as much as he did. Like straight up, honestly, I've always appreciated watching sports and loved that energy of like getting a team together, working hard, you know, coming together to fight for that goal. But I never got that same passion from my father. And I don't know if it was because I was always keeping my feet in other things, making money and trying video games and this and that. I don't know if that's what it was, or if it just wasn't as passionate, you know?
It's hard to match that too. I mean, your dad's at level 10.
It's very hard. But I also, and I think we've talked about this before, I also wonder, is it because of the time frame he grew up in? I mean, there's obviously people like yourself and Dylan. Dylan's huge in basketball. You're huge in basketball. You're passionate. You guys know stats. You know the players. Yeah. But also, I look at when my father was growing up, they didn't have cell phones. Yeah. They had one TV.
That's all you had. You had
3 channels. It was sports, probably the news, and that's what else are we gonna watch? Put on the sports. So, you know,
and it makes sense because it's. I mean, you guys get all 4 seasons. It's like, all right, summer we're gonna play hoop. Yep. Winter we're gonna play hockey. A little bit of football. Yep. You know what I mean?
It's a blessing growing up in Massachusetts having those 4 major teams.
So you could do all 4. Here, it's like literally like baseball, basketball, and then that's a little bit of football.
Hockey out here.
No one plays hockey because why would you?
Pay for the
and they're all fucking pussies out here too. That doesn't help either. Sorry, had to drop that out. Probably people would be a lot better off if they actually got hit in the face. Yeah, this is what I've learned. When I got hit in the face in basketball, I was like, oh yeah, I don't want to fight because you get hit in the face, it fucking hurts. Yeah, and I'm sorry to
it's all good.
It hurts, and I feel like people who don't get hit in the face enough don't realize what fighting is like.
I'm pretty sure in 5th grade, I think this is why I stopped playing soccer. I got the ball kicked in my face. Mm-hmm. And I just remember saying, I'm out. And it was against one of our most competitive teams, Ludlow, Mass. I'll never forget this game.
This is kickball?
Soccer.
Sorry.
Soccer team, like 5th grade. This is when it's starting to really kind of get aggressive. Travel teams are starting to pop up. And I think this is when I stopped playing. Maybe I'm wrong. 5th or 6th grade. And I got the ball. We were playing against Ludlow. This is like the big competitive team. Bunch of Portuguese kids, so they are like born with a soccer ball in their hand. I get the ball kicked in my face. I get taken out of the game at Sarah Jane Park in Chicopee, Mass. I said, I'm out. I think that was the last season. I think that was literally
I
the
don't
last
blame
season.
you, dude. Like that, it's not cool.
Yeah, I was all set with that.
So you were saying that. So I could go either way here. You wanted to make money, or were as a little kid, like in 7th grade, you wanted to make money, or were your parents like? Were they kind of pushing you to make money, or was this all you? So what were you?
It was definitely all me.
So what were you obsessed with? Like, was there anything like? were you obsessed with? Was there something? Was it money? You were just like, man, I just want to go out and buy baseball card. Or what were you like? What was the goal of having that money? Or why were you so obsessed with video games? Or what was? I'm just trying to figure out what the obsession was, because you weren't into sports. Most kids I'd say half of people are in sports at your age, and you were in sports, but it sounds like you were like, I can really give a fuck about sports. Like, I want to keep it pushing here.
I think, my parents were very good to me and my sister. They, I'm pretty sure they bought me my Xbox. I remember at one point my Xbox broke down. I had to send it in to Microsoft to get fixed, and I was like, damn, I was just like out of it. My mother went and rented me one from Rent-A-Center just to keep me happy. And I was like, damn. So shout out to my mom for doing that.
That's dope.
I got lucky with both of them. But I remember it was like a weekend. It's funny how when you talk about things, you can remember the moments. I remember I was home on the weekend in that 7th grade, and I had nothing going on that weekend. And my mom's like, do you want me to call Uncle John and see if maybe he needs help and you can go work and make some money? And I was like, why not? I don't think at the time I had any specifics as to what I wanted. I think maybe the motivation was buying more video games, or
there you go.
Those were like the big items at that time. So I think if anything, it was to buy more video games. But I also like the concept of saving money, and I didn't have any of these big goals. I think also at one point I wanted to buy a dirt bike. My mom shot that down so quick. Yeah, she's like,
no dirt bikes?
I lived right across the street from like the woods. Like,
oh man,
I would wake up and hear during the weekends, dirt bikers, quads, the most ideal situation possible.
Yeah, good dirt out there too.
Parents said, nah, not happening, which I totally respect. But I don't think there was one thing that I was aiming to like buy or whatever. But as time went, and then you're talking a year away from like getting your license, my mom's like, all right, well, if you want a car, you're going to have to figure that out.
Wow.
And so I think, you get in, so it's like the video games. Okay. That's a couple years that I'm like $50 here and there. Like, those adds up. Memberships for to play Xbox Live, that adds up.
I know.
I sound like the most video game.
I remember I played all that shit too. It was
so I think then it transitioned to now we're getting into high school. I want to look clean.
Yeah.
You want to be that, that's
you got to have the fit.
You got to have the fit. And shout out to your boy because he got best dressed of the class 2012.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
for real.
Yeah,
you was in there.
Class 2012. I was flexing.
Wow,
bro. Flexing.
Shout out to whoever voted you in.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what they were doing. But so then you look at that. Get into high school. Now I want to look good. Buy the clothes, and then you start getting.
And you were working. You were working. I was Foot Locker.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you told me?
Yeah. So I started in my uncle's spot. I worked there for some years. Got some experience under my belt, and then I ended up working at Big Y, a supermarket, which was an awesome job in high school because it was flexible. You were working with.
Talking
man,
shit,
I thought, honestly looking back, I thought I was like a hot boy because I was working in the front end and there's all these cute girls from my city that were working. So I'd see, this girl working at register 2 and I was the bagger and you can just move around. So I'm like, I'm gonna go to register 2. I'm like, yo, whoever's bagging, I'm like, yo, you gotta go down.
It is funny
go
working like that.
There. So it was such a dope job. But Big Y, and then I eventually went into Finish Line at some point.
Oh, Finish Line,
which was cool, selling shoes.
And you got commission on that.
That was commission.
So you were trying to sell.
Yeah, that almost. I was already a hardworking person and pretty good at communicating with people. Excuse me. But that job really took me to the next level because it gave me incentive.
Yeah.
And I was selling shoes, which was dope. I already liked shoes, fashion. And I was working at the Holyoke Mall, which already is a popping spot.
People, all your homies are coming through.
People would just come through and be like, yo, what's good?
Dude,
so
I would have literally been living at the mall
100%.
if I knew you, because I was at the mall every fucking day getting shoes.
Yeah, and that's why I liked it. It was a dope job.
Yeah.
And I learned how to communicate with people, top salesman for Finish Line for some weeks, for some time. There's a couple other people that were pretty good. Toot my own horn. But that was a dope experience too. Yeah. Just learning how to communicate.
And then you did that until the end of high school?
Finish Line was like junior year. I think I started junior. I can't remember when Finish Line was. I think it was that was like freshman year college summer. I think it was freshman year college. Came back for the summer, worked it, and then I remember I went back to school for the fall, came back for that winter, and then I worked that winter break for 6 weeks, and then that was it. So it was really only like a summer and then a winter break, but it was perfect. It was enough that I got the experience, and it was just a dope job.
So you graduate from what high school?
Chicopee High School.
Chicopee High School. And where's your mindset when you graduate? What are you thinking?
Crazy, right? So, going into senior year of high school, I was heart and set on Bentley University. Like, that's where my life was. I had applied to USC and all these other schools, but Bentley was my number one, right? And go through high school, those months were applying this, that. It's like the pain, man, that process was horrible.
Yeah,
Looking back on it, it's just the most stressful thing. So anybody that's going through it right now, just know it's not as bad as what you think it's going to be. Just get through it. But I applied at Bentley. That's my number one. I find out.
Why was that number one?
This is, here it is. Didn't know what I wanted to do.
Oh, okay.
Figure I wanted to go in the corporate world after I graduated college. Why not go to one of the best business schools in the area, and I'll figure it out once I get there. I don't know what the major would be, but I want to go into business world. From the work ethic, from enjoying money and all that. Yeah. There was no other option. I was like, I'll do business and I'll be an entrepreneur. I had visited Babson, Bentley, and some other business schools, and Bentley was like my number one. And I also had a cousin, once again going back to the family, that was at Bentley.
Oh, okay.
So to me, I was like, I need to go there. I got to
keep it going.
I got to keep it for the family. Yeah. And
where is Bentley?
Waltham.
Yeah,
so right next door to Regis. You guys were in
Regis.
Yeah, where was Regis?
Weston.
So right next door.
Yeah.
So I'm hard set on Bentley. I find out we're gonna find out in March or April. I forget what the date is.
Damn, they're kind of cutting you low there.
So I'm walking into LA Fitness and I get an email. It shows like Bentley University. I'm like, oh, here it is. I look at the email. I don't get in.
Damn.
Not even a what is it if you don't get in, like the standby or
like you're kind of on reserve.
Yeah, you're on the reserve. Not even that. It was just sorry, appreciate it. And
what was it? Did you not have good grade or what was it?
I don't know. I had everything, man. I think SATs knocked me hard.
How many times did you take the SATs?
Twice, I think. Okay. And I did not do well. I think the highest I ever got was like 1,400 something. Like bad. Like at the time that was.
I don't even remember what the.
So I looked at it as I knew I had a good GPA, 3 point something. I had all this extracurricular activities on my resume, but I knew the SATs was, when you have thousands of people trying to get out of school, the easiest way to weed out to the best. All right, you didn't do well. Yeah. So I was broken, bro. I was so pissed. I was walking to the gym. I was like, I'm just gonna work this out. I'm pissed. And man, I'd be lying if I wasn't really like upset. I got home, told my mom, I was like, I'm going to Santa Monica Community College. I'm moving to California.
Oh, wow.
I don't care. I'm out. And for like a couple weeks, she's like, yeah, okay. And I was like, nope, I'm out. Bentley was my number one. If I'm not going there, I'm out. And so, luckily I ended up cooling down a little bit, gave it a couple weeks. I think that's when I followed up with the USC letter and I sent the president.
You're like, I'm getting revenge.
I'm like, I got to get out to LA now. This is the time. And I send that letter, nothing. And
it's funny how that shit is. Like, you're thinking, like, this is it. I'm going to LA now.
This is it.
Yeah.
So at the time, I had applied to a couple other schools. I don't remember exactly, but I do remember applying to LaSalle online, seeing like what they had to offer, and I got in from there. And they had like an acceptance day. I figured, why not go check it out, right?
Yeah.
Just see what it's about. So I went, and I actually really liked it. It reminded me of Bentley on a smaller scale. It was also 2 towns up from Bentley. Yeah. I was on the Green Line to get into Boston. Yeah. I was like, you know what? This isn't that bad. Seems like a cool school. It was mostly fashion. That's their big thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, big fashion.
It was an all-woman school at one point, right?
Yep.
Okay.
All fashion. I was like, all right, this is kind of cool. Saw some cute chicks once again. I'm like, oh,
it's like 70-30.
Yeah,
like,
I was like, this is dope.
Cut me in.
This is cool.
Yeah.
And then they had a business program. So I said, screw it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to LaSalle. And I went. And
that's where I met you. Met you at your dorm.
Yes, you're right.
With, I think, Evan.
Good job.
I think.
You're good.
You guys are roommates, right?
Yes, you're right. So that's when I met Evan. I met my roommate freshman year, Evan, through hitting him up on Facebook. I saw who the class of 2016 was. You know how they make the Facebook groups. It's when Facebook was like still popping. So I creeped and I went through and I looked at like the guys that are in it, and I just started messaging people. I was trying to find a roommate. I was trying to find a roommate.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to just get screwed with some random. And the first guy I hit.
Yeah, go on Facebook and
this
figure
is crazy.
it out.
The first guy I hit up, his name's John Williams. He's like, yo, man, like, I wish I could, but I already committed to somebody else. Second person I hit up, Evan, worked out great.
Yeah.
Still one of my great friends today.
Yeah.
Awesome guy. But what's crazy is that when I transferred to Bentley, so does John Williams.
Ah.
And so who do I get put into living with?
Wow.
John Williams.
That's tight. Is he cool, John Williams?
Great guy. But it's weird because, I hit him up.
That is weird.
And then we end up transferring, and then I end up living with him for a year when I graduated college in Boston. So
Wow.
I feel like I'm gonna full circle and meet
That's-
John.
that's
If John
cool.
listens to this, I think we're gonna.
That's dope.
Yeah,
I
so
know
it's
that.
weird how that works out. But one thing that
Shout out to John
I
Williams.
definitely don't want people to overlook is that I spent a year at LaSalle College before I went to Bentley.
Yeah,
And
that's why I was gonna
That
get into
played
it.
a very
Literally wrote that.
important role to getting me to where I'm at today
Yeah.
because at LaSalle, I was, going to class, doing my thing. And in the back of my mind, when I went into my freshman year of LaSalle, in the back of my mind, I was like, maybe I'll transfer to Bentley. But at the same time, I was like, I just got to enjoy this.
Yeah.
And I almost went in grinding out as hard as I could, getting involved, like studying my ass off to prove to myself that, all right, Bentley doesn't believe that I'm capable of doing this. I'm going to prove myself. And I ended up, when I applied to transfer at Bentley, I think my GPA was like a 3.7, 3.8. I was on all these like extracurricular activities. I was a leadership scholar.
Damn.
And getting into Bentley as a transfer
Is it harder?
it's easier, I think, to transfer
Yeah,
schools because there's less applicants and they're a little bit more open to hear what people have to say. But man, when I got that acceptance letter, man, it was
made it.
It was crazy, because I had remembered a year previous wanting to get to Bentley and not getting in, and it was over the summer. You didn't find out until that summer, so like I was already set
On going back
to my sophomore year. All my living situation was figured out, and I found out I got into Bentley, and it was crazy. It was a unreal moment for me because I had seen it full circle. Like I had a goal. I hit a road bump not being able to get in as a freshman, but then I went into LaSalle.
You adjusted.
Had a great year.
Yeah.
One of the best years, honestly, one of the best years of my life. And then I still figured it out. I still followed
It's a good thing you grinded though. Good thing you didn't like
100%.
go like I'm just gonna be here and
I'm just gonna be here and just
2.0.
like punch in, punch out,
Yeah.
and I definitely had a good time on the weekends. I was doing my thing, but I was just hustling.
Yeah.
Once again, always hustling, always just having that bigger goal of what am I trying to do,
Yeah.
and just being able to do it.
What's the best experience from college that you had? Like, what was the one thing, or it could be two things.
I think living on my own.
That was the best.
Yeah,
experience.
that was obviously freshman year at LaSalle was the first year I experienced it, but it was the first time living on my own, not having somebody. My parents are very kind of cool with me doing whatever. My dad, and he's just like, do whatever, be safe.
Booze it up.
Let me know. Have a good time, but be safe. You know, check in with your mother. And my mom was always asking things as any mother would. But I think living on my own was an unreal experience in itself. I grew up. I started to appreciate things more. I started to, when I'd come home on a Sunday night and my mom would have dinner cooked. Nope, not anymore. Making turkey and cheese sandwich from the little fridge that we have. And I think the college experience taught me to grow. From 18 to 22, I grew up a lot.
You had to.
Yeah, you have to. And within that 4 years was just a complete transformation of somebody. Completely. Somebody that went in as a freshman knowing I'm going to graduate, go into the corporate world, climb the ladder, clock my 30 years, get one of those golden watches and walk out to then.
That's literally what your mindset was?
100%.
Wow.
110%.
Wow.
To then graduate in college.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go.
And saying like, nah, this isn't.
What was it? Who did it?
An internship.
Where?
So LaSalle Bentley. So I transferred to Bentley, get there. Sophomore year, you go through the process of like going to classes, doing your thing. And then junior year, it's like a big year when they start pushing internships. Like go get an internship. They have this huge career fair at Bentley. And I got an internship during the school year. So I went to, what was the name of the company? I'm not going to say their name just because I don't know if they're going to hear if there's a problem with that. So I got an internship for this marketing company. Mm-hmm. And
is it a big company? Like
startup, more of a startup.
Oh, okay.
Like they're at the time they're at 50-ish employees, which was cool to be. Everything is startup nowadays. I was like, all right, this is cool to be part of. Now they're really, I think they've grown quite a bit. But even within that startup, that little startup atmosphere of 50+ employees, I was starting to get a taste of that world of showing up there for 10 hours, leaving, and over and over, and starting to pick up what people were doing in their day. They come in for the first 2 hours, then everybody would meet and have, at the coffee area and make coffee and go back. And then,
literally The Office, the show The
every
Office.
single day.
Yeah.
And that, dude, I was so scared. I was like, this is not what I want to do at all. And this is what I thought I wanted to do. Yeah. I knew that the marketing and this internship wasn't necessarily the road I was going to go down. It was a cool experience, but I knew that if there was anything else, I don't think this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So that scared me. And that was the moment.
Where is this? Where are you in college? You're about to graduate, or are you just graduated?
I'm in junior spring. So spring of junior year.
Okay,
thankfully.
so you're about to be a senior.
Thankfully, yeah. So,
so now that clicks. You're like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Now
So that clicks, and then
how are you approaching senior year?
So then going into the summer, I drive full time for Uber. For that summer, crashed on my cousin's couch in Boston, cousin's spare bedroom in Boston. Once again, the family.
Yeah.
My Julius Hobert, shout out to Julius. He runs the other guy moving company in Boston. So Julius and Jane, his wife, put me up in their spot in Boston. Didn't charge me rent. They forever grateful for that. And I spent the summer working Uber. I treated it like a 9 to 5 though. I'd work Monday through Friday. Sometimes punch out early on Friday, jet back home on the weekends. And I was really treating it almost like a 9 to 5 and enjoying myself on the weekends. Did that all summer. Went into senior year, and I told myself, had that experience with the internship, and with my father and parents always tell me, no matter what you do, we'll always support you. As I was growing up, I kind of hinted at them that I'm not going to apply to a job unless there's a passion.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And they were
kind of like,
they're like, okay, just, figure it out. Go into your senior year and have a good time. So going into senior year, man, it's crazy thinking about this stuff now. Nervous because people literally by September and October were already signing offers.
Yeah.
I'm over there not applying to jobs. I think I sent in 1 or 2 applications. I definitely sent in one. I remember sending one to Uber corporate in Boston because I was like, all right, I like this company. Why not just send one for it'd be kind of dope. But
this is 2016, 15?
15, fall 15. So I had sent 1 application. I always tell people I didn't apply to 1 job, but I truthfully did, was Uber. So I send that application, don't see anything else, and I'm just like, I'm just going to enjoy senior year, have a blast. And I lived it up.
Yeah.
That's when I started to kind of listen to podcasts. School of Greatness by Lewis Howes was probably right around December. Man, it's crazy. I can literally remember this. I started listening to podcasts, started really getting into Gary Vee. I was like, I like these guys. These guys are kind of fueling me. And they were almost, now thinking about it, they were fueling the fire inside me saying, don't get a job. They were saying the same shit. They were like, follow your passion, follow your gut, do your thing. I was like, man, these guys they're
on to something.
They're on to something.
And this is the first time that you've actually been led down the path of, because I feel like you were just like, I'm going to be in corporate America. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go up the ladder. You were thinking that for 5, how long were you thinking that? 5, 6, 7 years?
At least.
Right?
At least.
And this is the first time someone was like, you don't need to do that.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, anybody's listening, you don't know until you try, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that working in the corporate world was absolutely what I didn't want to do until I did it, right? We see everything. We see the contract come in. You're going to get paid this amount of money. This is going to be your roles. Here's the bullet points.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Unreal.
Show up the next day and start working.
Yeah.
Are you going to enjoy it? Because it's easy to look at the summary of what the role is for that year and how much you're going to make. But you got to show up every single day and do it over and over. And with Gary and Lewis Howes and hearing all these different stories, I was like, man, there's a lot of people that said screw it, that went into the corporate world and then are tracking themselves out of it. So I said to myself, why not skip that whole phase? Why not if that's not what I want to do, I'm not even going to give myself a taste of it because I know it's going to be harder to get out of it. Having a salary come in every single 2 weeks, guaranteed money, it's going to be harder for me to walk away from that if I get a taste of it. Yeah. So why not just X out of it completely? I'm just not going to do it.
Don't even tempt yourself.
So I kept going through spring of senior year with a podcast in my mind.
You were thinking podcast.
I was thinking about a podcast. Growing up, I always wanted to start a blog. I wanted to have I wanted to have a platform too. I'm just making sure the levels are good.
Yeah.
We're good on time.
About 40 minutes.
It's a Bobbbaaaay podcast. We can go 2 hours if we need to.
We really could.
So I said, all right, I want to start a podcast. Wanting to start a blog, and I knew podcast was great because I like talking to people.
Yeah.
And this was a very much more easier format than sitting down and writing. Writing always overwhelmed me.
And it's oversaturated. I mean,
exactly. I saw a shift.
Yeah.
Luckily, way before now what it's becoming. Gary Vee also talking a little bit, I think, about saying like podcasts are going to be huge. And I was like, I'm just going to start one. So I thought about like a men's health. I thought about like a fitness, fashion, something guy related, talk about women relationships, dating, the whole shebang. And I thought about it for a little bit, and I had bounced some ideas with my roommates at Stratton, where I lived at Bentley. So shout out to the Stratton boys if they hear this. There was like 10 of us living in one house.
Wow.
And I was bouncing some ideas of some of these guys that I was living with, and I was like, yeah, this is not a passion. This is gonna seem more of like a job, right? So I was like, all right, I'll just keep sitting on it, keep milking it.
Still in spring.
Kind of hearing Lewis House's podcast, I was like, this is really dope. He brings on like dope guests. He breaks down their story, and I was listening to his podcast on a daily basis because your spring senior year mine was pretty cool. I had a lot of flexibility. I was taking 6 classes at the time because I had some catching up to do from transferring, but I did still have some free time that I was doing some research, listening to these podcasts, and I really liked his. I liked his angle with the stories, and so I started to kind of inch my way towards that. I was like, I'm trying to find my passion. I'm about to graduate college. Like maybe this would be kind of cool to do something where it's like focused on young people doing dope shit. I had seen kids from Chicopee doing their own thing. Nate Acorn, SK, Dylan. I've seen people that were making things happen. They weren't, superstars, but they were in that process. I was like, maybe that'd be kind of cool. And man, I'll never forget. I'm driving to the grocery store with my roommates at the time, and this is going into finals week. So still no corporate job.
This is like May, April.
This is like, we'll go end of April.
Okay.
And driving to the grocery store, we're getting into like the finals week. It's kind of crazy time. Like this is the last hurrah. I get a call from Dylan. I'm like, yo, what's good, bro?
Yeah.
And he's like, I just got booked for a tour, my first tour. I'm like, dude, let's go.
Sign it up.
Like something that,
Bro.
seeing his journey over our life, being with him since the jump, and then seeing him get booked for his first tour, I was like, let's go, bro. He's like, you want to tour manage it? You want to come on the road with me? And I'm like, fireworks are going off. I'm in the car going crazy. All my roommates are like, yo, what's good? Like, you all right? I'm like, yo, I'm going on tour, bro. Like, dream come true. And in a way, dream come true. I was like, dude, this is perfect. The tour is going to be, it was, I think, end of June, early July. Yeah, end of June, early July. I'm graduating in May. Obviously, the whole month of May is going to be gone. I'm going to be just having a great time, celebrating. June will come. I'll find something to do for a couple weeks, and then we'll hit the road for literally, I think it was 9 shows in 12 days. But to me, that sounded like a vacation. So that gets booked, and I'm like, yo, this is the podcast. This is what it has to be about. It has to be about passionate people.
Yeah.
It has to be about the youth and trying to find that passion. Seeing Dylan over these years and kind of being with him for that entire journey, seeing all these kids around him do passionate things, even some kids at Bentley that had done their own business and startups. I was like, this is what it's got to be about. This has to be it.
Yeah, that's dope.
So then we just spent that entire summer kind of working on the idea, not every single day, but working on the idea.
Who's we?
Me, sorry, I don't know why I'm saying we, but I was bouncing ideas off of him. He's the one that actually came up with the name for it, Purpose of the Youth. Yeah, we were sitting in the studio, and I kept bouncing these ideas of like, I want it to be on passion, I want it to be on like the youth, the purpose. And he's like, Purpose in the Youth, and I was like, sold, send it. But one thing that I do want to say is that related back to my uncle, right? When I first started working with him, so I graduate college, I go back home. And I end up trying this very short relationship with this woman who ran this like alcohol distribution. She pretty much was hired by all these big brands, and she'd go to like local restaurants and bars and do raffles and just sample out alcohol. And she kind of had promised me that I would take over her business if this went well. And within 3 weeks, I realized this is a scam, that she was using me to build, because I would bring in people to work underneath. She's like, build your team up, and then we'll kind of like negotiate, get a lawyer involved, and we'll have you take over this business. So I bring in like 15 people in my area that are interested in making some part-time money. And then she just kind of like was just putting me on the back burner. And I was like, okay, this is not going to work. So I go back to my uncle. I'm like, hey, do you have any, I need something to make some money.
When is this?
What?
When is this happening?
Like June.
Oh, this is you graduated.
I graduated college.
Okay.
Graduated college. That was a unbelievable experience in itself. So I go home, start looking for ways to just make some money, some hustling, and do this alcohol thing. Like I said, it just burned out. It wasn't anything too serious, and I was like, all right. So I go back to working for my uncle, and man, you want to talk about life hitting you in the face. I just graduated college. I'm X amount of debt, 6 figures in debt. I'm back to square one, where I started at, where I was the first job I ever worked at. Everybody around me was having jobs lined up, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 contracts signed. They're going to be starting in the fall. They got the whole summer to just enjoy themselves. I'm back to making $12, $13, $14 an hour. And that's no disrespect. I mean, that's what the job is worth. My uncle's not going to pay me $25 an hour. There's no need for that. I'm back to where I started with a college degree in my back pocket. And for that, like, couple weeks till we hit the road, thankfully hitting the road with Dylan was on my mind the entire time. Like, we just got to get through this, hit the road, and we'll figure out everything from there. But those like 3 or 4 weeks, I was like, damn, what am I supposed to do?
It was a low point?
Yeah. Bro, graduating college, got the diploma, a high moment. But then faced by, what are you doing? Yeah. Especially people around me, like, asking me,
I think a lot of people are having that problem.
Yeah.
Especially when they graduate.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Now I'm starting to like pay attention to that world a lot more, and you start hearing about all these people stories of having their own issues of like trying to figure out what's next. But it was, going to such a competitive business school, a lot of people had jobs. I mean, I got an email 6 months out from graduating saying, congratulations to the class of 2016. 99% of you are enrolled in your full-time career. Wow. And I'm part of the 1%. And I felt great.
Yeah. I would too. I feel great for you.
By that time, I had launched the podcast. Yeah. Yo, this is when things start to pick up, ladies and gentlemen. You have to have faith in the process and trust it, and know that things are gonna work out. Because that email I get, I just so happen to be going back on the road to tour manage somebody else. I'm 7 or 8. This is in the fall now, right? So I launched the podcast August 31st, 2016. I ended up getting my first guest, Jeremy Kogel, on the tour with Dylan. He was the tour manager of the entire tour. You want to talk about like timing? I ended up grabbing him as the first guest. Keep moving. I ended up getting booked as a tour manager for another artist on Dylan's management, and I go on the road with him. And I'm getting flown out. Like, to go start
and you're
a tour.
Free man because you don't have.
I'm a free man.
Yeah, you don't.
I'm living back in Boston now, driving Uber part-time, or full-time, I should say. I get an email, getting flown out, and I get an email, congratulations to the class. Meanwhile, I'm about to catch a flight. I'm going on the road for 9 days. I'm going to come back for 2 weeks, and then I'm going back on the road again with Dylan for another tour. I was like, yo, let's get it. Yeah. This is it. Like, you know what? Yeah. I'm not making money doing this right now, but something's working. Something's clicking.
You're happy.
I'm happy. I'm having people hit me up that I graduated with, like, yo, what are you doing? Yeah. Like, you're flying out. You're Tuesday night. I'm wondering, why are you doing?
That's dope.
No lie, literally partying, having a great time at clubs. We went to this one tour. We were out in Chicago. The artist I was representing from Boston, TJ Hickey, he was supporting Futuristic. He's a huge artist. Yeah. And I was also a DJ for this.
Yeah,
mind you, I'm not an official DJ at all. And I'm now the opening DJ of the night for 500 plus capacity venues. Yeah. Luckily, having my energy, my confidence, I said, I'm gonna turn it up. Come out to Kanye West, I think a Father Stretch, whatever song that is. And it's just like the beat, and then the beat drops, and I would get out there with the stage, and I was all in it. We end up going to we have a show in Chicago, and one of the artists on the tour gets invited for to come through the night. It's on a Saturday night.
Like
bottle service, the whole nine at a club. We walk up into the show or to the after party, and they're already all in there. There's a lineup, I kid you not, 200 people to get in, and I'm with like Dylan and a couple other people. Like, yo, how are we gonna get in this? I was like, fellas, you're in good hands. I walk up to the door, like, can I help you? I was like, yep. I was like, tour manager. I'm with blah blah blah. I was like, we're here with Bees was his name. I was like, we're here with Bees. We're on the road with these guys. Can you get us in? She's like, not a problem. Private escort, guy with the full suit, security, like with his like headpiece,
bring him in,
clearing it out, brought us right there, free drinks the whole night. That's fine. And we had a great time. But just you want to talk? I don't even know where this all kind of started. But
I just said what was like the turning point.
Yeah, so
that that's a huge turning point.
That was when I was like, yo, something's clicking.
Something's clicking.
And then we just kept running with it. We just kept pushing out podcasts, and by that time I was literally on the road tour managing for these guys. And I say tour managing so lightly because
you didn't. I mean, it was your first time. You're getting thrown into the ring. You didn't know
and I also wasn't doing anything of what a tour manager actually does. I just felt cool, and I still feel cool saying I was a TM for these tours, but I was not even anywhere close to like an actual tour manager.
You're just good energy and
great energy. I always told people I'm hospitality management.
So that's dope. I didn't know that. I didn't know because I didn't fall out of touch with Dylan, but we went on a period where I didn't talk to him for like maybe 8 months.
Yeah.
And I talked to him like,
total sense.
Yeah, I talked to him briefly. Like, he was like, yo, I'm going on tour. But like, I was like, okay, like I don't really get what that means. So it's dope. I didn't know that. And I wasn't really close with you, so I didn't know you were behind that. I just kind of want to, you talked about Lewis Howes here.
Yeah.
You talked about Gary V.
Yep.
Your man drama.
Yeah.
Who you taking? Who's the bigger influence on you?
The bigger influence, hands down, Gary.
Okay.
But they all play like they all play.
You
a
have
special
to pick
role.
one.
Gary.
Gary all day.
100%.
Yeah.
He's like my indirect mentor. Literally, that first year of the podcast was watching his content daily, listening to his content daily. He was like the fuel of inside me to keep me going, because in the beginning, nobody cares, right? Nobody cared about the podcast. And arguably, when you look at the world, nobody still does, but there's definitely, I've
more people
something.
do than they did.
I definitely have built something where people are like, yo, you know, you're
you have some sort of platform.
Exactly. Doesn't matter amount of plays. I've delivered 70 plus episodes. Like, this is a moving thing. This isn't just an idea anymore. But in the beginning, it's like, oh, you're at episode 3. Oh, nice. And you're trying to promote yourself, and you're trying to like tell people you're the real deal. And Gary's content fully was just like, keep going. Just keep your head down. This is a long game. You know, don't worry about the money. Just worry about putting in the work and staying consistent. And I was like, this is what I got to do. But they've all three, I would pick Gary of the 3. But if you look at it like this, so Lewis was the one that inspired me to start the podcast because I saw what he was doing. Gary was the fuel to keep me going. But Drama was almost, I don't want to call him a bigger brother.
Yeah, you like looked up to him.
I looked up to him because he launched a very similar podcast 2 months before I launched mine. Yeah. So now I almost had somebody.
You kind of had framework.
I had framework. I wasn't necessarily listening to his podcast and like, this is what I got to ask my guests, but he was essentially doing what I wanted to create. And it almost was like, you know, it was like a mentor in a way. If he's delivering a podcast every week, I need to keep going. Yeah. And that's just how it's been.
You got to keep the standard.
I have to keep the standard. But if I'm picking any of the 3,
it's taking Gary V. Yeah, I knew it when I wrote that.
100%. I told him at ComplexCon, I said, bro, we're going to be doing business one day. And I have that video saved, and I cannot wait for, you know, I don't know how long. I don't want to say 6 months because it's probably going to take longer, but I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of 2018 I'm sitting in New York City with him on some business for a 15-minute conversation.
Or 2020. But you see it happening.
I'm not worried about when it's going to happen, but I know it's going to happen.
So you moved to LA.
Love
obviously.
La La Land, baby.
September of 2017.
Yep.
What's the most important thing that you've learned so far since being out here, or what's the thing that you've learned that you didn't notice when you were in Boston? Or
those are kind of like two different questions in a way.
Well, it's like, what did you? Because living out here on the West Coast, it's a lot different than being in Boston
100%.
Or being in Massachusetts in general. So is there something that you've taken away, whether it's like how people interact, or is there anything that you're just like, I wouldn't have learned this if I wasn't here, or I wouldn't have taken this away from this situation? Or is there anything that you've learned just because of where you are, where like your location is?
There's like two things that I definitely want to just say. One is being like the people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different, just the culture and environment of LA is so much different than Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Call it Massachusetts. The way people grow up, and there's not the 4 seasons, and that for sure plays an influence on people. And I almost argue that if you're an East Coaster coming out west, you have the advantage versus a West Coaster going out east. No offense to West Coasters, but I swear East Coasters, we are hardworking. We just we can see through the bullshit, and people out here seem kind of flaky, and they just you know, yeah. I hate to be honest, but that's really what it is.
So dealing with flakes.
Yeah, I would say just people, like the way people interact is much more genuine in Boston. That's the one thing I miss the most, I think, about the East Coast, is just that genuine conversation, man. And I get it. Maybe it's because I'm living in LA. Obviously, this is the most competitive industry city.
Yeah.
You know, everybody does something: acting, modeling, podcasting, artist, and everybody has an ego, which I understand. So it's when you have these conversations with people, they're gonna obviously talk themselves up. That's not so much in Boston. People are in corporate world finance. They're just normal human beings, right? Doing their thing, playing their role.
They don't have an agenda when they don't have
an agenda, and that's out here. It's really about what can this person do for me, and that's what you can read.
Yeah.
But also, when you look back at being in 5th grade, wanting to live out here, then thinking maybe college freshman year didn't happen, then thinking maybe immediately after I graduated college didn't happen, but then finally making it happen. It's like, damn, you really can do it, like anything, you know. And I hate that I take it. I feel like I take it for granted every day.
That you're here?
Yeah, well, I don't want to say take it for granted, but you just get caught up, right? The first month here is like the honeymoon phase. You know, I'm like palm trees. I'm looking at the sun every day. I'm like, this is great. You know,
I'd say the first 3 months you're wrong.
Yeah, but probably 3. But then you get into the grind, right? And you wake up and you do what you got to do, and you go to sleep. Wake up, do what you got to do, and I try to get myself literally every single day, more towards the early part of the day, where I just stop and think about, I'm living in LA. This is where I want it to be. Yeah, like I'm not necessarily living full time off of creating yet, but I'm for sure on the right path of getting there.
Yeah.
But just that process of actually taking the leap and moving out here, bro. We're in LA, bro. Like
sunny,
this
325 days a year.
This city don't even know what I'm about to do to it in the next couple years as time rolls. Like bro.
Putting it in words.
Listen, this is going to be dope when we can go back in a couple years and see this interview and be like, yo, he literally spoke it, because I'm as you see it every day, I'm not fucking around at all anymore.
For sure.
I'm so all in on what I need to do. And if you ain't, no offense to anybody listening, but like, if you ain't helping me, not helping me, but like, there comes to a point where you have to realize that if there's something so extreme that you want to do, something has to give. And a lot of that is going out and spending money on dumb things and just calculating what needs to get done and utilizing every minute. And I could rant on that all day, but just know, Bobbbaaaay, your favorite beat
coming
man.
for you in 2018.
I'm coming hard.
What's the worst thing about LA?
Worst thing about LA?
Besides drivers. And the flaky people that you've already touched on. What's something that just gets under your tits?
If you take out the drivers and the people,
And the traffic, huh?
I was gonna say I'd count the drivers and the traffic as one.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Wow.
Nothing.
So that's the only thing that's
holding
holding
back. When I'm driving around Sundays, like for
Uh-huh.
Uber and stuff, when I'm driving around Sundays on Uber, and that's usually like the calmest day for traffic and stuff, I love it.
Yeah. It's chill.
I have no complaints about LA. The sun is always up. 30-minute drive right now from the beach if we really wanted to go.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime I end up out in Santa Monica or Venice driving around, I'm like, damn, this is
fucking beautiful.
so dope.
Yeah.
And of course, that's where it's the most expensive to live. But knowing that I have access to that, I can drive to it within an hour, if at the most, maybe.
It's pretty dope.
I think it's pretty good, especially when we're out here for Christmas and Thanksgiving. This being the first winter I'm ever away from the winter months, bro.
Yeah, I definitely take it for granted.
Don't worry about time either.
Yeah, I was just
We're
looking.
cruising. We're doing a good time.
Well, I was gonna say, so you do the podcast, right? And so I know your process here, and I know you DM a lot of people. You're a DM surfer, right? You surf the DMs.
Absolutely, sliding it right on.
You're
through.
sliding right on
Coming
through.
to a DM sometime near you.
No bullshit. I saw your DMs yesterday because I was being nosy.
Yeah.
How do you handle the rejection of people? Actually, I think the better question is, what is the most popular way people say no to you? Is it they just don't respond?
I always give people
I like knowing how people
it's
say
either
no.
they don't. There's one of two ways.
Mm-hmm.
They don't respond, or I purposefully. A lesson that I learned from Matt Keene, Dylan's manager. So shout out to Matt Keene. A lesson that I learned from Matt Keene is always give people an out. Always give them an out. And that also, I think, helps you get an answer back, because if you don't give them that out, then it might not even respond like, oh, I don't want to do this. And they just don't care, which I hate. Communication is very important, and I hope people realize that even just a quick no thank you, I'm all set, goes a long way. And that's something I'm really going to stay true to myself and try to make sure that if anybody contacts me, whether it's a DM, whether it's an email, respond at some point. If it takes a week, it takes a week, but respond. Give that person the satisfaction to know, oh, shit, he actually read my email.
Yeah.
But either I don't get a response at all, which is like, all right, bet. Like, I get it, whatever. There's just nothing. Giving them the out. Always ending the email like, hey, if this is of interest, would love to have you. If the timing isn't right, totally understandable. I think that's a good way to like say, hey, if you don't want to do this, I understand. And I secretly love it.
You like
I
getting
definitely
rejected?
took offense. I remember there was this one person in the beginning stages, probably episode like 10, 12, 13. I emailed him, and he didn't say anything against the podcast. He's like, I'm just going to have to pass. I don't remember. But something inside me was like, man, little do you know what this is about to become. And also knowing that this was the early stages. I didn't have anything proven. Why is this guy going to give me some of his time? But I love when people say, no, I'm all set. Or,
no, thank you.
I had somebody that was like recently, a couple months, probably about a month and a half ago. He ended off, he's like, oh, I'm living in he's like, he asked me like how many plays per episode.
Oh, he was worried about that.
Yeah,
Oh.
and I gave him the number, and then he didn't respond. And then I followed up, and I was like, if you're still interested, like I'm not sure if you're interested. He's like, he saw that in the intro, I was like, oh, I started this in Boston. He's like, oh, he used to live in Boston too. He's like, oh, I used to live in Boston, but I'm sorry, I'm in LA now. And I followed up, and I was like, yeah, I'm in LA too. And he saw it on Instagram DM, and he saw it, and he didn't respond. And I laughed because what ended up happening recently in a podcast, I built a connection with people. I don't want to say who this guy is, but I built a relationship with one of my previous guests, and I'll tell you after this is off the air. And he's friends with that guy. The podcast with him comes out.
Hits you up.
I put up an Instagram recently saying, hey, tag people you want to see on the podcast, and that kid got tagged, and I loved it.
Yeah, so
and I responded to the kid that tagged him, and I said, hopefully one day. Because you know what's one thing I learned from Gary Vee is if that kid hit me up today and said, I'm down to do a podcast, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I don't have the ego. I want to capture the story. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it that I'm just another kid. You're getting PR from New York Times. You're getting PR from entrepreneur.com. You're getting PR from these huge people. Why are you going to give this little guy any shine to light? Like, why waste your time? I get it. But I think the key is that even the people that maybe don't want to be part of it now, you still are winning if you take them down the line. You didn't lose.
Yeah.
Them coming back to you is definitely,
it's a good point.
it's a good win. And I understand the other side is like, well, they didn't want to, like artist Russ. He's a big, like, you didn't believe in me, like, fuck out of here. He don't care.
I do everything.
I respect that too, but I'm also realizing that if I just stay positive and if people that I emailed 6 months ago now respond, they probably grew more on their audience, which means it's a bigger platform for me. So I don't take offense when people say no. Like, they're going to continue to grow, and you shouldn't.
Yeah.
But I'm also, like I said, if these certain people end up going on the podcast, I'm going to love it because I won. Yeah. I captured the story. Back. I got you, Brandon, on my podcast, and you ended up falling through.
I've never thought of it that way.
And you're going to know in the back of your mind, like, damn, I told this kid no at first.
Yeah. I would bring that up, too.
But, yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
So
it's a good takeaway for me.
You gotta look at the positive of everything.
So you're an early riser.
Early riser.
Why?
Like getting the day started early.
What's the morning ritual look like? You've touched on this.
Yeah,
a little bit
I've definitely touched on it. Usually, it depends on like what the workload is. Earliest I've ever gotten up is 5:30. That's the earliest I've ever gotten up. Mostly it's gonna be like 6 a.m. I'll get up. Typical day. Get up, get some water, get a nice coffee, come back, sit down. Depending on the day of the week, depends on what I need to get done. But it'll be work on the computer for maybe 2 to 3 hours. You're looking at like 9:30, go to the gym, come back. I'll go out. I've started going outside now. I used to meditate in here, but wanting to appreciate California more, like I was saying, I started going outside because by the time it's 10, 11 a.m., the sun is finally warmed up. And it's actually peaceful meditating and listening to like the birds chirp. And people might think that's corny as hell, but meditating has definitely played a huge role in my life since graduating college, which I got introed in spring of 2016 was meditating. I was going through some like my own mental things in my life, I guess you could say. Whether it was trying to figure out what's next with college, girl issues, this issue,
the whole shebang.
And I was like, I need something, and meditating was there to work. But that's the morning routine. It's usually, I like spending the first 5 to 6 hours of me time, right? A lot of people get out of work. If you're in the NIP, 9 to 5, you get out at 5, and that your time is that rest of the night. I like mine being the beginning of the day because I can execute, get things done. And by the time I even really talk to people at all, I've already been up for 5 or 6 hours. But that morning discipline, they say if you win the morning, you win the day. And I'm a huge believer in that. If I set myself up, like today before this, got up, went to the gym, came back. I knew we were doing this podcast, but mental and physical health is a must for me. And I checked off both of those before we even did this today. And that is like, it has to happen every single day. Or I just feel like I almost took like a loss, or it needs to happen in order for me to feel like I accomplished my day.
I like that. Probably a couple more and then we'll. So you're a full-time Uber driver. Some would say the best in Los Angeles.
100% the best.
We have no facts to prove that, but
actually we do. If we go to the analytics and we look at statistics of
your stats are pretty good.
My stats are 10,000 plus rides, 4.95 rating. Hit me up.
Uber, you are you gotta fucking
they're gonna miss me quick, man. They should have.
They're gonna be hitting you up, like,
dude. They should have had me branding like on their commercials right now.
They should.
When that misses, sorry Uber, you guys missed your chance.
Hilarious. What so for people who are out of college and who don't have a passion and need money, I'm guessing some of them might be driving Uber.
Yeah,
right.
I would bet.
What are the 3 or 2 or 1 essentials to being a great Uber driver?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. What's the one? And then you can kind of go into 2 or 3 if there is anymore.
Just learn how to communicate with people.
Yeah.
I think I literally have been able to get that rating because I understand how to communicate with people. That is by far one of the best traits that I have. Somebody gets into your car, just simply say, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
Or just, I always ask, hey, how are you doing today? That's all I ask.
Yeah.
And I can gauge based on the way they respond, if they want to talk or if they don't want to talk. And if they don't want to talk, I'm cool. I understand. You're doing your thing. You're on your phone. You got business, whatever. Cool. Understandable. But if they come back and they want to have a conversation, why not? We're going to be sitting in this car. You don't know who's going to get into your car. So it's like you might as well talk to the people that are getting in. It's a paid way of networking. But that's like the number one thing I tell people is just learn how to communicate with people and just be a good person. Hi, how are you today? Good. How are you? Great.
That's it. You don't have to go anywhere.
If you don't want to go anywhere else with it, then don't.
No.
Drop them off, and when they're about to exit, hey, have a great day. How easy is that? You know, like how easy is that? You can control that. Traffic and sometimes road closures and that you have to kind of react to. But
are you cussing at your windshield?
No,
never.
I'm so low key. The two things my rules with when I'm driving Uber. One, as long as I don't make somebody on the road, aside from me driving, another driver slam their brakes, and as long as I don't make the riders in my car feel like they're on a roller coaster ride, anything goes. Yeah. And I'm with
you honking horns?
No.
Oh man.
Only if it's like a safety thing. Yeah. You know, it's crazy to say this, but I literally mentally check out when I'm driving. I can just sit there and go into daydreams of thinking about all these other things, and sometimes I'll listen to podcasts to keep my mind on something. But if I'm not listening to podcasts and I'm not talking to the writer, I just sit there and just think. Yeah. And driving has always been just something that I've enjoyed, and it's meditating.
I like driving.
So, dude, I can just drive for hours and just be like so out of it and not mind it. But communicating is. Dude, that is the key to life.
I think that's everything. I'm starting to fucking really realize
this is what we're doing here, communicating. You learn how to communicate with people, you can get anything done, ever.
Yeah, definitely something I'm not great at, but...
It's okay. You're learning. I think you are good at communicating with people.
I'm okay. I
think you're reserved.
Yeah, but I'm not great at it at all. Like, you're a lot better than me.
Well, I just throw myself out there. I'm nuts. So.
And also, you do this a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just training. That's all it is.
What's Bobbbaaaay's purpose?
Ooh.
What's his purpose?
Bobbbaaaay's purpose. Kind of what I said in the beginning of the podcast, to be an example of somebody that built whatever he's going for from nothing. You know, I was very fortunate, as I said earlier in the podcast, I had a family that was always very supportive. You know, my parents would give me things here and there to kind of get me going, whether it was Xbox, video games, or new clothes. They would help me out. But at the end of the day, my purpose, I think, really is to help people, I guess, maybe find theirs along the way. I really kind of enjoy having conversations with people about what they're trying to do, and I can give them my 2 cents on maybe you should try this or do that, or maybe you're just not looking at it the right way. Which is dope. I always want to help people along the way of me trying to get to that point where I really think I'm going to be a star one day. And I say that so humbly. Like, I feel it. And I want to use that platform to help people. And I'm not just saying that. Because I definitely have heard people say that shit in interviews. They're like, yeah, I just want to get, a lot of money. I'm just going to give back. And, it's just going to be a great time. And
it's like cliche almost.
It grinds my gears when I see these people with platforms just promoting bullshit.
Yeah, protein shakes.
No. It's not even that. It's not even that. It's just the lifestyle.
You mean like how they live,
bro? Yeah, like I had seen somebody yesterday post about like the money they just made or something like that, and they have a good following. I'm like, at the same time, I understand you came from nothing, so you almost feel. It's a pat on your back, right? You came from nothing and you made it to where you're at today. Great. But it's the way you post about things, or you put yourself out there to the world, that it's like, all right, why you like who do you think you are, So don't get me wrong. If I cut a check one day for some hefty money, I'm going to treat myself because I worked my ass off for it, but I'm not going to go there flexing and pushing it. But I guess really to say the true purpose would be to be an example of somebody that didn't know necessarily where he was going, that set his goals high, that just put in the work, kept his mouth shut, was very smart, and just brought positive energy to the room, which I think I do. I think I'm good at bringing energy to people, and
just being around I have to have my fucking energy. Because if I don't, it's
I'm tapped. I want to be at the point where I walk into a room and it's like people are
like you're the life of the party.
Yeah, but not even, Yeah. I don't want it to be like, oh, Bob is here. Like that'd be dope too. But more of if somebody's in the corner of the party, like sitting there just like texting on their phone, just kind of scrolling Instagram, like put it away because now I'm here and they're like, oh, what's he gonna do? You know?
Yeah.
In a good way though, not like
dope.
dumb shit, but something cool, something positive.
So we're gonna go to the classic Bobbbaaaay question here.
Yeah, man.
10 years from now, there's a picture on the wall.
Yep.
Of your wherever you see yourself living, log cabin. I don't know what. There's a picture frame
cabin
with a picture in it,
hanging
on a blue wall. What's in the photo?
The classic Bobbbaaaay questions.
How to do it?
Yeah. I think LA is going to be the home base for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be taken in LA. Definitely want to expand and do some, 3-month stay. I'd like to live in New York City for a couple months at a time.
I feel it.
Maybe go abroad for 2 to 3 months and backpack Europe and travel to Australia. I want to really, we'll talk about that. But I think that LA is going to forever be the home base because it's always been the place I wanted to live. Mm-hmm. And now that I'm here, I just see the way things are going to roll out. I just see myself climbing and moving to different parts of the city and, getting to a point in my life where I then can go and enjoy myself at these restaurants and then be able to live by the beach. And there's so much that I want to kind of climb and do here. But in that picture frame, I think it's going to be taken on the beach here in LA, surrounded by family, friends.
It's going to be a huge photo.
It's going to be huge. It's going to be a fucking party. Excuse my language. I try to keep it reserved on this podcast, but it's going to be a fucking party.
He's letting expletives fly.
It's going to be a party. It's just going to be surrounded by really awesome people that have been on the podcast, people that I'm working with now on the team, people that I don't even directly work with but inspire me. My family, like I said.
Gary V probably in the photo.
Who?
Gary V.
Gary V for sure in the photo.
He's just in there flexing
with his New York Jet rings. His 5 like this. And there's nothing. The thing is, it's a simple picture of people just having a good time. There's no fucking Rolls Royce sitting in the background. There's no nothing. It's people almost on the beach just having a good time and living their life, and very minimal.
It's almost like a drone shot.
Definitely a drone.
Drone shot from above. You just see everybody
Davis from the podcast. He'll be flying the drone. Yeah, I think that's what's gonna be on the beach, is having a great time with a big bonfire. LA in the background, palm trees, couple of champagne bottles going off.
Say no more.
Treating ourselves, but it's gonna be a party.
I like it. Just one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, you create content. You're at the content crib.
Yep. With the content crew.
With the content crew.
With one of the members.
With one of the members in his red satin jacket. What's your favorite thing to do besides content creating?
Ooh.
See how it is on the hot seat?
That's a good one, because that's all I do.
Yeah.
Every day is just trying to think of some type of picture to post, a video to create, a podcast to record, even like the journey videos yesterday. I'm just buying myself time when I'm saying this right now.
Is it the gym? Is it?
Well, the gym, that's an easy out, right?
I mean, it could be. I mean, I don't know. Do you love that?
I do.
Probably don't. It's probably a force.
I mean, I always say that nobody loves walking in the gym.
The hardest part about working out is showing
getting
up.
there. Yeah. Exactly. That's anything to life, right?
Yeah.
There's a gem right there.
Is it running? I don't know. Sunshine? I don't know. I don't know.
I really will.
Like doing laundry.
I definitely don't like laundry. I like new experiences.
What's a new experience that you've had recently?
I think of one. This was, literally probably 2 months ago, 3 months ago. We went to the Comedy Store, right? Like, that was super dope to me because I had never been to the Comedy Store. You always hear all these good things. It was us, Dylan, and I had never been to a comedy show, so that was super dope. I don't do enough of that stuff right now because I'm constantly, as you see, just always working, and anytime that I'm even gonna sit back and relax, I just want to relax. I don't want to drive anywhere because obviously I'm already driving enough with the Uber. But I like new experiences. I like going to concerts. I like being in environments of people, I guess you could say. But I like trying new things. Which is the experience thing.
Yeah. So experiences.
Yeah, experiences. That's why document the journey, right?
Yeah.
I'm always within that content creating. Like when we went to the
more or less.
pop-up, right?
Yeah.
I had Kirk come and he made a vlog for me. I'd love to get to a point where I'm able to do that daily.
Yeah, that'd be
I'm
dope.
going out and not going to the Santa Monica Pier to just shoot a vlog, but I'm going to certain events or networking opportunities that people could document, or have somebody document. But aside from creating content, which is like my number one thing right now, it's for sure just experiencing new things.
And you can experience new things through creating content.
100%.
So they go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Thanks. Bob, any closing statements?
Any closing statements? No, I'm really, I didn't know. I knew that at some point this podcast was going to happen, like getting interviewed on here. I'm glad that it did not happen anywhere near earlier in the podcast.
Yeah, like
because,
episode 4 or something.
Yeah, even with like Dylan, I didn't do his podcast until like the 20s, because that's an easy out, right? To have him as a guest, being like the best.
Definitely
homie.
73 of these things.
But this, I think, is the best moment to do it. Finally, like being soaked in LA for 5 months now, 70 plus episodes. I definitely like that this happened, and I think
people don't know who you are.
Nah,
for the
people
most part.
don't.
I mean, people know, indie, or I'm just looking at people on the board here. People know all these people. Like, that's why they're tuning in, because they have that fan base.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't know who the hell's interviewing them.
Exactly, and
for the most part,
and that's been I think the hardest thing too is I try to when I'm sitting in that seat, is I'm trying to unfold that person's story, but I'm also trying to find small little ways where I can add just a little bit of insight on who I am. Yeah. Because that's, at the end of the day, Purpose in Youth is me. Yeah. It is all these guests, but it is me. Yeah. And it's been much of a balance. And that's why we had talked about maybe doing a podcast one day as us three, the content crew. And that's why I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to pull the trigger and do it, because that'll give me a platform. Even though it's not Purpose in the Youth, it'll give a platform to start talking about things and just hearing my voice, so people can get to know me. But with all that being said, I think this was the most ideal moment to do this podcast, and I think it was fire to have you on it to do it, because Dylan would have been, he knows all these answers.
I know all that. I don't know.
At least this is you asking questions that you truthfully don't know. And I hope that people that listen to this, anybody that listens to this, let me just say this, I can't even put into words. If you're watching on video, one thing that I've realized is how hard it is to get people to take time out of their day to just watch a video, to just listen to a clip on Instagram, to comment, to do any of that. Never mind, I'm not even asking for $1. Yeah. Right? Like the people like yourself, I respect. Yeah. You're not only posting content, you're providing a product, but you have to get people to literally hand over money. Yeah, granted, I'm asking for people for an hour of their time, which is a lot. I'm still just asking for your time. Yeah. I'm not asking for $1. So let me just say, if anybody's listened to a podcast, I can't say it enough. I know you guys see me posting my bubbly self on Instagram story. I'm documenting my journey and all the content that I post, but I truly appreciate it. And yeah, I don't know. I just I'm happy that this could happen, because I think it'll give people a little insight to hear really how I've gotten to this point.
Where you came from and where you are now.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just like any other story you're going to hear on this podcast. Yeah. It is the same story of trying to, we have all these different paths in our life, and then we find out what we want to do, and then we have to find ways to make it work. And it's not easy. And, being 70 plus episodes in right now, I still, like I said previously on this podcast today, that it is a game that I ask myself every single day, whether I'm in the gym, when I'm first waking up, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And I believe it is. Yeah. We don't know how to make a living doing it just yet. We don't know what's the next plan. We don't even know who's going to be episode 80, but it's just that continuous of showing up and doing it over and over.
Consistency.
Yeah. I mean, if there's anything that I've learned about through this journey and all the guests that I've sat down with across the board, artist, DJ, producer, entrepreneur, vlogger, makeup artist, film director, photographer, skateboarder, professional BMX rider, health and wellness coach,
vintage seller.
What?
Vintage clothes seller.
Vintage clothes seller. It's consistency. Yep. That's how you win. And if the ones that stay consistent enough, somehow, some way, they end up coming out on top.
I believe it. Bob?
Yes.
I think that's it.
That's it. That's all she wrote.
All right.
Thank you,
That's
Steve.
it. No problem, man.
See ya.